FUTV Live, welcome along everybody. I'm Adam. I'm talking this morning about the importance of what is going on at Manchester United. Does it really fall into insignificance with what is going on with the Premier League, Manchester City's charges against the Premier League, and what will happen to the beautiful game if Manchester City win this case against the Prem? Manchester United are actually logging their complaint as well. They are giving evidence, some witness statements as well, along with other clubs. I wanted to get into this a little bit more today because I feel like this is probably more important than what is actually going on at Manchester United at the moment. We can talk about where Ineos are at and how they're dealing with the summer so far and everything else, but I feel like it is important sometimes just to break away and actually go, do you know what? There are bigger things going on right now, and everything that we're moaning about within our club and everything that's actually going wrong in our eyes just really doesn't matter. If this goes wrong for the Premier League and what's happening with Manchester City right now and how they are taking over everything and just changing rules, it would seem, at will, along with, now it seems, Chelsea and Newcastle as well, and Aston Villa involved. We'll get into details on that, but I wanted to get your opinions on this because I know a lot of people are actually interested in this sort of thing, and it does have massive implications on Manchester United going forward. In fact, the Premier League, what will happen to the Premier League if City win this case on Monday? This is what's probably more important than anything right now. The fact that we're all moaning about competing within the Premier League, what actually happens to it? Do we have a league? Where does City go if they lose this case and everything like that? I want to get your opinions mainly on this today. I've got a few bits to talk about with Manchester United towards the back end of the show as well. I'm going to give my opinion on what some other people have been saying this morning. It's complete and utter bollocks, but hey, there are more important things to actually get into and significance behind them as well. But welcome along to the video, everybody. Make sure that you give the video a like. Make sure that you are subscribing to Forever United TV. We just passed 45k last night, absolutely buzzing, amazing with that. What a massive effort that has been from you guys as well. Give the video a like, subscribe, and make sure you share the video as well. Get involved in the chat, people, because if you are subscribed, you can get involved in the chat right now, and I can see a lot of people already getting their opinions across on what is going on, what will happen to Manchester City. I know it's not a City channel, I know it's not what we normally talk about on things with things on this channel, but it does have massive implications for Manchester United, like the rest of the league. The significance of the ruling in this case is huge for everything. They do not care, Manchester City, about what happens to everybody else in this. They are looking at this for themselves and what they can get out of this. Because if they do win this case, everything is just up in smoke. It is basically Manchester City are guilty of 115 charges. They know they've got no case, so they're making another one to counteract that. And there is that thought that people have actually brought up, like, will the Premier League drop the 115 cases if Manchester City ease off on this case that they're bringing against the Premier League? All things like that are being brought into this conversation right now. The ruling and the new deal which is on the table for the EFL, like the lower leagues, like the EPL, do you know what I mean? Like, looking at it, like the Championship, League One, League Two, all of the deal, the £900 million deal that's on the table right now, which is being discussed and supposed to be passed off this month, is up in the air right now. Because who is going to go along with an agreement with Manchester City, Chelsea, Villa, Newcastle, who are supposedly all in a team right now? Who is going to agree to that in the Premier League? That is still not a majority. So if they do win this case, it affects the whole football pyramid going down. Like, they are just going in right now making excuses about what Manchester United used to do back in the day. Say, for instance, when they didn't like the fact that Manchester United were monetising TV, their own TV channel, MUFC. That was apparently something that they weren't happy about, and they're trying to claim that that is exactly the same as what's going on now with APT and what they can do with their own sponsors that are actually part owners of their own football club. City have quite a lot of them sponsors, and this is where it's all coming about. But you have to look at how they're going about it, why they're going about it now. And one of the big things that a lot of people have been talking about as well is like, how come Manchester City be bringing the Premier League to court as quickly as this, when it took how long, how many years for City to actually be brought to justice for their 115 charges? It just shows you, doesn't it, how much power Manchester City have got over the Premier League And you know what? It's like, what happens to financial fair play? What happens to PSR? Some people will look at that and go, I'm not really bothered. It just means that we can spend more as well. But it just opens up all of the transfer market, poor owners, everything. It just opens it up. And you know what? With everything going on, it just falls into line with what the Premier League were panicking about themselves, with the independent regulator coming in from the government before this is coming. So it's been said that the independent regulator is going to come in this year. Like, literally all of this has now come to a head because they don't want to be regulated. So the Premier League are not free of any guilt on this either, because they're the ones that let the Gulf ownership come in, the state ownership come in, and now look where we're at. This is exactly what everyone was talking about and everyone was fearing with what could happen with state ownership in football clubs. And now we're at this stage where the Premier League is going to be completely thrown up in smoke. What significance does the Premier League have? Like, how serious can we take the Premier League if this comes through for Manchester City? It'll be an absolute farce. And what you'll see is that one way or the other, either a deal gets made where City's charges get dropped, the Premier League don't get brought to justice for what City are charging against them, or Manchester City fly off to the Super League because they've lost the case, or the Premier League, it's just, I don't know which way to describe it, but you can only describe it as a laughingstock. Manchester City want damages from the Premier League for money that they might have lost out on because of the rules that were brought in 2021. The APT rules about sponsorships from dual-owned companies of the owners of that particular football club. Obviously, shirt sponsors for Newcastle, that is a Saudi-run business as well. We know about Etihad with Manchester City. Chelsea's shirt sponsors exactly the same. And Aston Villa, apparently the other team that are on board with Manchester City as well. Their Egyptian co-owner is good friends with the ownership model and owner of Manchester City. So it all looks like it is them particular clubs fighting their corner against the rest of the Premier League. It looks like a 4-on-16 right now. And it's not just Manchester United that are in with the Premier League here and giving their witness statements. When you think about the implications for us, like, we have just took, what, 3 former members of Manchester City staff and brought them to Manchester United. It just looks, do you know what I mean? It looks like people were jumping ship from Manchester City now because they knew that they were guilty. I'm not saying that they knew anything of what was going on and everything like that, but honestly, it just makes the Premier League look farcical. It looks like it's just going to blow up completely right now. And the game that we knew, the game that we loved, and let's not kid ourselves, like, we've grew up with most Manchester United fans that grew up watching Manchester United's greatest years over the Premier League. Like, Manchester United being run, the rich history of the football club, and City are actually using that against the Premier League, saying that the majority, tyranny against the majority, tyranny of the majority, sorry, like everyone ganging up on them because they're being so successful now. As a Manchester City fan, I've got to ask this question, like, where are you at with this? Because if this goes through, like, they clearly have cheated, otherwise they won't be as desperate to bring these charges to the Premier League. They clearly have done something wrong. Why can't you just own up to that? As a City fan, like, how you're about to blow the Premier League up into smoke. How do you feel about that? Like, it just, like, next season could just not have any significance about it at all. It feels like we're playing for nothing right now. We've seen one paper, one publication actually say you might as well move the Premier League headquarters to Manchester City if they win this case. If they do, then I don't know what that means for the rest of the league. What owners can come in, because they're trying to absolutely demolish the ownership models and restrictions from the Premier League right now, stopping them doing what they want. Like the Saudi ownership, you've seen it. You've seen a perfect example of it with the Qatari ownership at PSG and what they've done, how they've managed to manipulate their league and the competitiveness of the league. If this goes through and City win it, then you might as well not even be competing with Manchester City, Newcastle, Chelsea. They'll just spend more than anybody else. They have got money to burn, and you know what? PSR, financial fair play. Let's look at it this way. Manchester City have already beaten UEFA. So if there is a case where Manchester City win and spending is completely open and all these rules are actually open to spend as much as you want, which is what City are pretty much aiming at, then you're looking at a situation where, like, how are other clubs that are in European competitions, say for instance you get a Brighton come through or a Wolves or someone like that make it to the Europa League or anything like that, which is possible, how are they supposed to adhere by financial fair play rules? Is that you basically solidifying Chelsea, Aston Villa, Newcastle and Manchester City as like the top four, because they can spend and they've got more power than anybody. They don't have to worry about any financial fair play rules at all within PSR, UEFA or anything like that. It is an absolute farce right now is what's going on. And you know what? I'm not surprised that the Premier League, other members like Manchester United, I think Tottenham, Fulham, there's a few others as well. I'm sure there are other teams that are against this, like teams with rich history, teams that have won the European Cups like Liverpool, United, Nottingham Forest. It's like everything that you built up counts for absolutely nothing according to Manchester City. And they just want to take over everything. And you know what? In defending the Premier League, we also have to condemn them really, because they're the ones that let this happen. They're the ones that ignored the state ownership models and the deals that were going on with Manchester City in the first place. They thought it was fantastic that all this money was coming into the Premier League. So really, are they their own reason for this happening right now? Is that where we're at with it? Because when you look at all of the details going all the way back, I think they've just realised that City are just running amok, and now they're trying to bring these rules and regulations in and tighten them up. Like, City have been doing this for years. Obviously, we're going all the way back to 2009 with their charges, and you have to look at like the commercial revenue jumps and percentage jumps from 2009 to 2019. That 10-year gap of commercial jump, like nearly every single big club, Arsenal, Liverpool, United, Chelsea, all have massive revenues. I mean, I think Manchester United's went up 300%. Liverpool's and Arsenal's was up like 100 and odd and 200%. Manchester City's 1100% plus. Manchester United 300% rise in 10-year period from 2009 to 2019. Manchester City 600% more. Do you know, it's that jumps out of the page straight away, doesn't it? As like pure corrupt. Like, how can you be 600% more in commercial revenue? And this wasn't even at their height. Like, let's not forget, Manchester United was still winning Premier Leagues in that time, in that decade, from 09 to 19. Manchester City weren't even at the heights of where they are now. So to get a 600% more than Manchester United raising commercial revenues, honestly, like, it shouts out filth, it shouts out dirty money, it shouts out everything that is going wrong with the Premier League right now. The signs were there early doors and everyone was ignoring it because there was loads of money coming in, and the Premier League in itself looked like the best product out there in all of European football, and now they are scrambling around trying to fix the mistakes that they made early doors. The state ownership models and everyone that was coming in knew exactly what they were doing. The power that they have got is immense, and they will not come second to anybody. They are fully convinced that they are going to take the Premier League down and then just make their own rules up, it would seem. So what's City's plans if they beat the Premier League? Are they then dictating to the Premier League what they should change? Because that on its own sounds farcical. How fair is that to everybody else? Like, City are manipulating a system that's been there for decades to suit them, and they're going to tell the Premier League, with winning this case, if they do, what they need to put in place going forward. I mean, come on, seriously, it's an absolute joke right now, and everyone should be worried. Everyone should be worried about what is going on with the Premier League and what this means for us, like fans. Like, where's our money going these days? What's it worth now in the Premier League? For City to want damages as well, I mean, good God. The front, to break it down and move on, and I'm going to get your comments on this next as well, but it just means that City I feel are completely guilty of what the 115 charges has been brought to them. They know that they've broke the rules. They wouldn't be concentrating so much. I mean, this was brought up to the Premier League in February. So February, March, April, May, like 3 months, and they can get City, they can get the Premier League. The actual competition that they're bigging up to everyone that they've won so many times, the actual Premier League itself, the rule makers, they can take them to court within 3 months. But it's taken the Premier League how many years to try and even get a date set to get City charged with their PSR charges. It just shows you the power, doesn't it? It just shows you, and that's the scary bit about it. How quickly City have managed to make this happen is the scariest part about this, because it just looks like they can do what they want. It looks like they can just manipulate everything. Like, have they really got that much power to manipulate the actual Premier League going forward? That's the scary thing for me looking at it. And like, I'm just reading into everything that's been said, and you can see the fear in the journalists, in everyone who's reporting on it. It's like, to say that the rest of the Premier League is ganging up against Manchester City. Are you joking? Seriously? Like, you've been caught. You've paid, what, 50 million in charges to UEFA. And if you're not guilty, you don't pay 50 million, do you? Like, they've already been caught by UEFA, and they corrupted that case when they were thrown out with Kaz, when they went to the Court of Arbitration for Sport and just absolutely annihilated UEFA with that. Like, if you have not watched that documentary and that programme on corruption in football, it's actually on YouTube. It is an absolute eye-opener, and I recommend everyone go and watch it, and how City got away with the charges that UEFA brought against them. And I think now, because they cannot appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport for the 115 charges, that's not allowed. They can appeal it in other ways, I'm not sure how, but they cannot do what they did to UEFA with these cases. They've brought their own charges against the Premier League. It shouts out guilty party, it shouts out that City are corrupt, and they feel like they can do whatever they want. They can take the Premier League to dark places that we didn't think was possible for one football club to do. And with the backing of the likes of the co-owned Chelsea set up there, obviously that has got Gulf money there as well. Newcastle, as we know, and obviously the relationship between the owners of Aston Villa and Manchester City, as reported, then they feel confident going forward that they have got enough. But like, what does City want to do if they win? That's another question. Like, what do they want to do? What do other clubs in the Premier League actually think? If City win this and then they get the Premier League to change their rules, what do they feel? Like, are they just going to then go, you know what? I don't want to be part of the Premier League. The Premier League is dead. If City win this case, it's finished. The other clubs are not going to stand for it. And you can see everyone moving across to a new league, a Super League or anything like that. So just to break down the significance of what is actually happening right now, the Premier League could be finished if City win this. That's the significance of it all, I see anyway. Like, you could say that they're not going to, there's going to be a deal made or something like that. It's going to be interesting. Like, but I think, just to move on and get your comments, I will come to your comments, I keep going on with myself, sorry, but for them to get this case brought against the Premier League before they actually go up against the 115 charges, that should be the worrying sign for everybody looking into this and saying that City haven't got the power that they say they've got. All we can do is sit back and pray that this doesn't happen. And if the Premier League does win this case, what happens to City? They're gone. I mean, this is a Hail Mary, this is windmilling, this is the last throw of the dice for Manchester City. Because if they lose this, then I don't think they're going to be in the Premier League. I don't think they're going to be there. They can't be there. To do this against the actual competition, the rule makers, the head of the tree, and then still be competing in it after losing this case, that would make the Premier League look weak again. So City would have to be relegated at least if they lose this case. And because if they lose this case, then the 115 charges case comes into full focus, and everybody will be asking what's happening with that. They will then obviously be taken to the cleaners with that, surely, by the Premier League for what they've done to them. And then we'll see what happens to them. And I just think that City will end up being in the Super League on their own. You may see other teams go that way, but what this is doing is destroying the Premier League. It's as simple as that. Do you know what? Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out. It doesn't matter if we're not got a competition to play in, does it? Just silly joke, sorry. But yeah, I'm going to come into your comments right now. There's loads of you getting involved in this. I knew it would. And you know what? Sometimes it's just nice to talk about a different subject away from just football, because there are bigger things going on here. And I think everybody wants to know what's happening and wants to know what's going to happen to Manchester City. Either way, if they win or if they don't, because everyone is involved in it. Throw City out of the league. Premier League was just fine with them in the lower leagues. City have to be kicked out of the league now. Simple as that, says Boxing. There is no wonder not many like them, says Chris. Mike says, only reason Spanish clubs then were interested, sorry, I thought I'd gone off then, were they to had lots of corruption about to a load of corruption to be revealed, as they also were close to bankruptcy. They borrowed to many, money plus interest rates went sky high. We know the corruption between Real Madrid and Barcelona and what's happened in La Liga. I still can't believe that they're competing in the Champions League, both of them clubs, knowing, with UEFA actually knowing that Barcelona and Real Madrid are still back in the Super League. That on its own is an absolute joke and a farce. This is the reason why the Prem should never have let Gulf states own football clubs. They were warned. A lot of people are saying that, Darren. You are dead right on that one. A lot of the journalists are going in on that side of things as well. The Premier League are just getting their just desserts with this right now. Away fans should boycott going to watch a team at Manchester City. I don't think it even matters, Mike, that, to be honest. I've seen someone else come up with boycotting City everything. It really doesn't matter, because if they win the case, they can just use their own money. It just takes away everything that the Premier League used to be, or even the English Football League used to be. Like, earn your way to the top. Do you know what I mean? Like, run your books properly and spend properly. This is what we thought that PSR and financial play was going to bring. But all it has done is just complicate things. Greed of the Premier League, bringing in more state ownerships, more money to the Premier League. Eventually, it was going to come to a head, and now it could come on their head. Peter Grafton says, if City gets away with these charges, all other teams in the Premiership need to stand together and refuse to play them. If City are found guilty, they need the book thrown at them like Rangers did. Have the Premier League got the balls? If they get away with this, the Premier League, then it's open season, isn't it? It is open season. I'm just reading through a few more. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Just checking on some other news. Alright, some more updates coming there, United-wise. I will bring to you in a minute as well, guys. Just getting through some more of your comments on this. I'll not support a team in the Super League. No chance, says Boxing Straight Talk. Basically, I think with what it is here, it's like most people are at a point now where it's like, well, you need to either kick City out of the league or you are finishing football. That's what it is, because it's like what Boxing said there, and it's not just him that said this. It's a lot of people that said they won't follow Manchester United to the Super League. I was there with all the protests and everything going on when the Super League was apparently happening. I would say 90% of the fan base would be the same. Like, no Super League. Not a chance that the Super League should be going ahead. Like, if City win this, where do the other teams go? You basically, it's the worst thing in the world to think, but the league that we play in, if Manchester City win these cases, is basically being run by Manchester City. That may sound ludicrous, but if they beat the Premier League in this case and this hearing on Monday, then they are basically running the Premier League. They're running every other club in this division. This cannot happen. And do you know what? The independent regulator is the top of all of this, and it's just happened too late. Where are the government? Where are the government with all of this? going on right now. They have to be looking in on this and saying, look, we need to push forward this independent regulator quicker than what was first planned. Like, we're halfway through the year near enough and we've still not got it. The Premier League are still trying to pan out a deal with the EFL right now. PSR supposedly changing as well. And that's still not enough for Manchester City. City are still going to absolutely slaughter the Premier League. So I don't know where we go, honestly. Like, it's a massive, massive concern for football right now. And it's just going to get forgotten about in a few weeks. I know it will because of the transfer window, the Euros and everything like that. But when the Premier League starts again, then we're going to have to be looking at this and going, well, what importance does this have to us anymore, the Premier League? It's scary because I don't know. I think we'll have the verdict and everything like that will happen. I think we'll have the case and everything on Monday. That's the 10th. I mean, what happens past that in terms of appeals, the actual verdicts and stuff like that, whether that gets dragged out as well, I'm not too sure. I'm sure we'll find out when everything kickstarts on Monday. But nothing else really matters right now apart from this. It shouldn't matter apart from this. Compost Smith says, Chelsea made a mockery of the league with Roman and now they want to help destroy it. Shameless club too. Honestly, that's the only thing that stopped me supporting United, is if they joined a Super League without relegation, not having it. Loving the content, Adam. Proper United news and zero innuendo, just how we like it. Santa, love that comment. Thank you, mate. That's what it is all about. It's a classic Lance Armstrong move. He sued everyone until he was caught. There are loads of comparisons going around. Some crude ones and some on-point ones, I would say, but everyone can see what's happening. Like, the whole world can see what's happening. It's just that the powers that be within Manchester City, I'm not saying Newcastle have not come fully forward yet, but let's be honest, Newcastle would not stop this from happening. It would just open up the floodgates for them and they would be in position A. Like, they are richer than anyone on the planet. And if City win this case, then that's City, that's Newcastle, that's Chelsea, and probably Villa with their riches and everything else and what they've got. That's just them top 4 clubs. Everyone else just has to try and run like a normal football club, or like it used to be when it was fair. That's what we're at. That's where we're at with it. It's embarrassing. One rule for Chelsea and City, another for the other Premier League clubs. Yep, exactly. That's what it will be. I still can't get that. I still can't get that what I just said out of my head. Like, if City win this case, then City are pretty much running the Premier League because they're telling them what to do. They are saying how they want APT rules to change. Now, just for anyone who's unsure what APT is, they're the commercial sponsorship deals that clubs can have from the companies that actually own the football club. So, say for instance, Etihad with Manchester City, the shirt sponsors are owned by the same people that own the football clubs of Newcastle and Chelsea. That's what that is. That's what happened in 2021. The Premier League tightened them rules when the Saudi ownership came into Newcastle, and they made them harder for teams. So it was more like a market value, fair value in terms of what they can get. So for instance, if Manchester United wanted, if we had a company that was part of Ineos who wanted to buy the naming rights for maybe, say, a new stadium at Manchester United, oh, we want to buy the naming rights and we think they're worth 1.5 billion. And that balances and clears all debt and everything like that. Just an extreme example, but that's pretty much what it is. It needs to be market value, it needs to be fair value, and what it's worth. So going alongside other stadiums and what their naming rights are worth around the world and things like that. You can't just make up a price. So we value this at a bleeding billion. So it's like, for instance, it was reported that Etihad came in and made their price for City Stadium when they came in. I think the writing was on the wall then about what was coming. So I think we should have known then, but the Premier League let it go, and now here we are. Please give the video a like, guys. Appreciate you all joining us. We've had well over 700 in the room for a while now. It's good to talk about something different. I really appreciate you guys getting involved in this conversation because I know it actually affects people as well. Like, People live for football, and if you take that away from fans, you take rules away, and you feel like the league that you're watching, the team that you're watching, is being run by corruption, then it affects everybody, because we love football, and it feels right now like it's being taken away from us. That's honestly how it feels for me. I'm not just saying that because it's City and they're our rivals. I mean, we've been dealing with them for years. We're looking at our own ownership model right now at Manchester United and trying to figure out a way to spend 30 million quid. These guys are opening up avenues and telling the Premier League to allow them to spend bleeding $500,000 in one transfer window if they want to. It's ludicrous. And like that, state ownership does not care. It does not care. It will take down anything in its path, and the Premier League should have known this when they allowed it to come in, and now look where we're at. All of the sports washing, everything like that, everything that everyone's been reporting about, they've got their feet well and truly under the table now, and now it looks like they're pulling the strings and telling the Premier League exactly what is what and what needs to happen. And you know what? You have to say the Premier League had it coming. I keep coming back to it. Adam, mates, all I've been seeing on YouTube is you and palm trees. I am on my holiday right now. We head back from the Dominican tonight, so I'll be back in England on Friday because of the time difference and everything like that. So I am going to be doing another show today. It'll be at 11 o'clock my time, so that's going to be 4 o'clock in the afternoon UK time. That will be the last live video, whether anything comes about with Ten Hag and stuff like that. I've been seeing plenty of stuff going around this morning saying Manchester United are in a mess. Well, no, we're not. It's just another day on. Nothing got more messy overnight, did it? We're still waiting for Ten Hag's decision. We talked last night like it might be this week, it might be today, it might be tomorrow. It doesn't really matter, really, does it? Like, if it's done before the end of the week now, then we can talk about it then. But there isn't loads going on behind the scenes. It isn't disrespectful against Ten Hag. I don't see that. But, hey, like we've been talking about in the rest of this show, does it even matter anymore? Like, honestly, it just makes you think, doesn't it? It brings it home, like, how significant what's going on with the Premier League right now as to where Manchester United are actually going to be, who they're going to be competing against, what the league is actually going to be after this and everything. Absolutely mental. Exactly why I didn't want Qatari short-term gain, long-term pain, says resonates. Another awful session ahead for Manchester United then. Another awful season ahead, session. Breaking news, Ineos have just bought a sandwich, says Domingo OT. Nice one. BLT. I'm going end of the month, can't wait. I hope you have a good time, mate. It's fantastic here. Had a bit of rain recently though, so pardon the pun, put a bit of dampener on the last couple of days, but no, it's been amazing apart from the last couple of days weather-wise. As soon as Adam gets in the plane, the manager situation will be announced. Don't curse it, Compost. That's what we've been worrying about. I've got an 8-hour flight and everything's going to come to a head while I'm actually in the air. That'll be painful. I'll come back and I'll open up my phone and I'll be like, oh God, it's happened, hasn't it? It has actually happened. Stephen says, no point in football anymore when the teams have all the best players. Thanks to Man City and Real Madrid, football is dead. You're doing a live on your last day. Go and enjoy it. Long story, City won't be guilty anyway. Oh, thanks for that, Munich. Yeah, we are doing a live because we have to be out of the room, so I'm just going to do a quick one before we finish. And like I said, well, it's cloudy anyway, we might as well, aren't we? Nearly at the 200 like mark, guys. If you could all just give the video a like, thank you. That'll take us over 200. Amazing. We have seen some news just come up regarding Harry Maguire as well and his injury situation. And that may mean that Harry Maguire won't be in the actual squad for the Euros. So we're in the preliminary stages now. Obviously, Maddison got dropped yesterday and the squad's taking shape for England right now. But from a Man United side of things, it looks like Harry Maguire may miss out. I mean, I can just read what was actually in that it's been reported by the Telegraph that sources close to England's squad believe Harry Maguire could be prevented from being part of the final group that travels to the Euros through injury. So I've always had this thing with Harry Maguire, like he'll always get through an injury, he'll always make it, but the last couple of years have been bad for Harry Maguire. I think it's finally catching up on him a little bit, and I'll be gutted for him because, like I said, I love Harry Maguire for England. I was saying this the other day on the podcast, on United Couple podcast, by the way, link in the description for that, guys, episode 7 while we was out here in the Dominican. Go and give that a watch. I was talking about Harry Maguire and how I love him for England and not for Manchester, and not as much for Manchester United. Like, he is England through and through, Harry Maguire, isn't he? He's a stonewall. He's always there. I'll be absolutely gutted because this will be his last chance, won't it, I feel. I don't think he's going to make the World Cup in a couple of years. I think he'll be too old. There'll be other defenders there. This was his last major competition. And I think with it possibly being Gareth Southgate's last competition as well as England manager, hopefully, I'm actually saying that, until United's managerial situation's sorted, I'll just say, like, Gareth Southgate can stay with England. Over the 200 like mark, guys, as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm gutted for Harry. I am. I'm really gutted for him because it would have been his last one. And it was probably England's best chance of lifting a trophy as well. The squad is immense. And for him to not be part of it, and I know he's big in the setup there in England, everybody loves him on camp. Yeah, that would be a real shame if he didn't make it. But hey, hopefully that news isn't true and Harry does actually make it to Germany. But yeah, past that, I mean, there isn't much else in terms of that England squad yet. United player-wise, like, obviously we know that Rashford's not gone. Luke Shaw, we're waiting for updates, but it's looking good for Luke Shaw. England are desperate for a left-back, so Luke Shaw pretty much looks set. I think they're going to take him either way because there isn't anyone else. So, yeah, Luke Shaw is safe. Kobe Mainoo, I cannot see not making that England setup. Super chat in from Glenn says, City said, why wasn't financial fair play brought in when United dominated? But if there was financial fair play when we was debt free before the Glazers, it would have benefited us. Yeah, I know they're stupid, aren't they, mate? Like, bringing Manchester United into this, as to say, look, the Premier League is all for the old clubs, the clubs with history, and they're the ones ganging up on them. It's embarrassing how City have made this case as well and tried to use the likes of United and Liverpool and teams like this. I'm actually shocked that apparently Everton are part of backing Manchester City as well in this. Oh, it's mental. I don't understand where they're going with that. Obviously, financial fair play has hampered Everton recently, and they're probably hoping, look, with the new stadium, the state of their ownership model, and the 777 not going through, maybe it's a case that, like, no holds barred within transfer windows and being able to spend more if City win this case, then that benefits them as well. So, yeah, I think that can only be why Everton are actually looking into this. But yes. Hi, Adam. I have this feeling that if Ten Hag gets sacked, the new manager might be coming completely with his superior waistcoat. Surely we won't go down that road. Just a feeling that I have. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. If we all knew that Southgate was going to be the man coming in, if Ten Hag was going to be sacked, it would be 100% of the fan base wanting Ten Hag in. Guaranteed, wouldn't it? It would. Ten Hag, nah, you're talking perfect English with stutter. I'm suspicious you're not who you say you are. I can see that there now in the chat, someone else going on, having a different conversation. Sorry to interrupt, guys. One Puggy, yes, but we made the money through success, mate. A massive difference. We earned our own money and we spent our own money. I remember the days when Manchester United, before the Glazership ownership, we bought Wayne Rooney with the following year's budget, like transfer budget. We made it happen. It's not like we were spending beyond our means. We actually balanced our budgets with what we had. Like, we were run like a properly run football club. It's a shame we've gone past that. And it's a shame that the whole model of the Premier League and everything being fair and what can be spent, and I mean, you look at the NFL, Formula One, NBA, spending caps. The Premier League want to protect itself, I understand that, but you know what, it's got to a stage here right now where they probably would take a spending cap and have had that in years ago than be up against Manchester City right now, taking him to court and then wanting damages. It's going to throw everything up in smoke. No, Adam, not 20% of the fans, says boxing. You wouldn't take Southgate over Ten Hag boxing. I'm telling you now, you would not do that. Not even you would go for that low. Surely not. Kaz just mumbled in the background he would. No, I'm not having it. But yeah, guys, I'm going to finish the show there. I'm going to go and get some breakfast, enjoy what's left of the last day I've got here. I will be back a bit later on with the final show, with anything that's breaking and coming around Manchester United. Hopefully we have some more information by then. But it drags on, doesn't it? It drags on. But like we did in this show, more importantly, the whole structure of the Premier League is what is a worry right now. We shouldn't even be concerned with what's happening with our own individual clubs. We may not even have a league to play in. What will the Premier League be after next Monday? We're talking about a season ahead and the next Premier League season. We don't even know who's going to be in it. We don't even know what it's going to stand for or who's running it. Honestly, there's so many things that could come from this hearing with the Premier League and Manchester City, and it's just taking away every little bit of focus. Like, bring on the Euros so we can deflect away from the Premier League for a bit. God, I never thought I'd say that, but that's how I'm feeling right now. Guys, if you could all just give the video a like right before we finish, that would take us up probably over the 250 mark. That would be absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for all of your contributions and everyone getting involved in the chat today. Something a bit different before we finish up the holiday. Really enjoyed talking about what is actually going on in detail within the Premier League and what we're actually going to be watching next season, like I said. But for now, guys, that is it. Cheers for tuning in, everybody. Fantastic show. I love you all, and I will see